and on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Newport County, I welcome all the candidates as well as all of you in the audience. It's our privilege to be here tonight. We also would like to say thank you to the other sponsors tonight who are AARP Rhode Island, the Greater Newport Chamber of Commerce, and East Bay Media Group. As the League of Women Voters of Newport County, as are all League of Women Voters chapters, is a nonpartisan organization. The questions and the format for tonight will reflect the adherence to this commitment. League members will be the timers for this evening. To further explain how the evening will go, I'd like to introduce Scott Pickering, who will be your moderator for this evening. And also, before I do that, anyone who has the index cards and wants to ask questions, we will have somebody coming around to collect the cards, probably several times during the evening. Scott Pickering.
All right, thank you. So, here we are. It's kind of like a big family getting together on Thanksgiving, and you're not really sure how it's going to go. And the two things you don't talk about at Thanksgiving are religion and politics. So, I will be your MC for the evening. I'm going to go over the format and rules so everyone in the audience and the candidates understand how we're doing this. I will basically be a tour guide through the evening, helping steer you candidates through when you're speaking, when the next turn is coming up, how much time you have, and so forth. This is not a debate. It's not structured as a debate. They're not debating each other. They're not debating me. This is a forum for question and answer, for candidates to be heard, to get ideas out there, to react to those ideas, to react to those questions. Each candidate has a 1-minute opening statement they will make. They all have a 30-second closing statement they will make. In between, there's going to be a series of questions that are going to go in groups of 3. And this is, I'll be the one keeping track of this, but I'm going to ask a question, and the first 3 candidates are going to have a minute each to answer it. And then we have a thing called wild cards, which are 30-second blocks of time. And if the other 2 want to jump into the question, just let me know. I will recognize you. You can jump in if this is a topic you want to touch on. You have the opportunity to jump into it. If not, and all the conversation is ended, we move to a new topic and a new set of 3 people, and it'll rotate through. When we're done, everyone will have been called, every candidate will have been called on to answer 6 questions directly, and you all will be the first person called on the same number of times, and you'll be the last person called on the same number of times. The whole program is designed so at the end of the night, everyone has had an equal amount of time to speak, which is why we set these time limits. 1 is so that we get out of here at a reasonable hour. 2 is so that everyone has an equal opportunity to speak and be heard. So my goal is to make sure that it unfolds that way. All the questions tonight are, I did get a lot of questions submitted from the community. Many of them are very pointed and directed at maybe a certain person or a certain party or a certain topic. My goal is to turn those around into questions that are generally facing and can be answered by anyone up here. So we may touch on some topics that are controversial and divisive, but the questions are framed in a way that it's not targeting anyone. It's an open question that could be answered either way and could be answered by anyone up here. So I took the feedback from the community. I may have rephrased some of these so they're less pointed, but they're all, getting the topic out on the floor so we can talk about it. So we determined numbers as everyone came in. Oh, the last thing. We have volunteers, a good group of volunteers from the League of Women Voters here. There's 2 people in the front row up here. We're keeping time. One will be keeping time, the other will be flashing a yellow card when there's 15 seconds left in your answer, and then flashing a red card when you've reached your time limit. I don't like to interrupt you if you're speaking. So you have these wild cards, which are flexible blocks of time. So if you're in your opening statement and you're not done with it and you want to keep going, you can just keep talking. We'll charge you a wild card, and there's a board over there that's tracking them. All your names are up there, and we'll track you. You've used 1, and you've used 2, and you've used 3. But I don't want to cut you off and then, or interrupt you and say, your time's up, and you broke your thought. So if you go through the time, that's fine. Finish your thought, keep your thoughts together. We're just going to be keeping track of the time, and we'll record that we've used one of those extra blocks of time. So you've got the wild card folks here, with yellow and red. You've got tracking of the wild cards over here. And these are questions from me, but you know, you're answering to the audience. So the audience is who you should be directing answers to. And like I said, I'll steer you through the whole program. All right, sorry for all the introduction, but we're ready to get going. We're going to start with opening statements. We're going to go down the road here, 1 through 5. Brandon Pinio, you may begin. You have a 1-minute opening statement.
My name is Brandon Pinio. I've lived in this town for over 40 years. My wife and I purchased our own home here in town.
Yeah, we might need to move the mics a little bit.
Do I have to pass a little? How's that? Is that better?
That's much better.
Okay.
We will reset the time.
I appreciate that. Thank you. My name is Brandon Pinio. I've lived in this town for over 40 years. My wife and I purchased our first home here in town just over 7 years ago, and we lived there together with our elderly dog named Shep. I had the privilege of becoming an elementary and middle level educator and worked in that field for many years. I met the requirements to be labeled as highly qualified, and I have received several awards and honors in my field. I also have been able to work behind the scenes as the maintenance supervisor for the New Shoreham School Department, ensuring that that facility was operated efficiently. Today, I run a small business here in town, and I'm running in this race certainly not because I have nothing to do, but rather because I feel that I can assist in providing the children in this town the best free and appropriate education possible as prescribed by the law. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Susan Chase, 1 minute opening statement.
Good evening, I'm Susan Chase, and I would like to thank all the organizers and the would-be voters and the candidates that are here, and I'm just thanking everyone who was here. My husband and I moved to Little Compton in 1976. We are really grateful that we have been able to live and raise our children here. Our 3 sons graduated from Wilbur McMahon, and we now have 2 grandchildren at the school. Over the years, I've been a bookkeeper and office manager for local farmers, contractors, individuals, and nonprofits. I ran a licensed home daycare for children for 10 years. Shortly after moving here, I found community at the United Congregational Church that nurtures my faith and enriches my efforts to participate in social, environmental, and racial initiatives. I serve on many committees and boards at my church. I'm seeking a position on the Little Compton School Committee with intention, above all, to serve our children, their families, and our community, and to protect the future of Wilbur McMahon School as the inclusive, supportive, forward-thinking school and asset to our community that it is. Thank you.
Thank you. So Susan went beyond her minute and charged her a wild card. So you have 4 left. But, no harm, no foul. That's what they're there for. Next we have Amy Gleischer, 1 minute.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight, and to those of you watching at home. My name is Amy Gleischer, and I'm hoping to earn your vote for school committee. My family and I moved to Little Compton just before my daughter was to start kindergarten. We were searching for a community that offered a supportive and well-respected school system, and couldn't have been happier when we landed here. Year after year, my daughter has benefited from the incredible programming at Wilbur. This includes the musical theater program, after-school and summer library programs, athletics, off-campus learning opportunities, the special education supports and services, the list goes on. The International Baccalaureate program sets us apart from other schools and complements our holistic approach to education and adds the elements of civic engagement and global thinking. In addition to being the proud parent of a Wilbur student, I am a school social worker, licensed and working in a public high school just a couple of towns over. My graduate degree in social work from Boston College featured a concentration in children and families. I'm uniquely qualified to serve on this committee because I'm both a professional working in a public school and a parent of a Wilbur student. My hope for my child and for all children is to be able to experience a safe and supportive public education of the highest caliber, for students to be nurtured as well as challenged with opportunities for growth and development. This is the legacy that our small but mighty school is building, with the positive trajectory that we're on, with forward-thinking initiatives, exploring creative opportunities, and maintaining our academic excellence while always striving for more. I will be a committed guardian of this legacy, acting with the best interests of our children in mind, and that is why I'm worthy of your vote.
Thank you. Travis Snow is next. 1 minute.
Thanks, Scott, again for being persistent and getting me in here tonight, and everybody else, and thanks for all you guys for coming out. I'm running because I have a responsibility, I think, to raise the bar for my daughter and everybody else in the school. It's a big deal. We have a really good school system, and I'd like to put my all into keeping it that way, and maybe even raising the bar. If elected, I aim to prioritize being available for all the parents out there who have concerns and want to reach out to somebody who's willing to go above and beyond and investigate what's important for them and their kids at Wilbur Middle School. That's it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And Mike Rocha, 1 minute.
My name is Mike Rocha. I'm a lifelong resident of Little Compton. My wife and I have 6 children ranging from the ages of 12 to 24, with our youngest currently in the 7th grade here at Wilbur School. Our oldest is serving in the U.S. Air Force. I'm deeply committed to our community and what is best for our town. Alongside running a small business, I actively participate on several committees and oversee the senior transportation for the town of Little Compton. My wife and I also initiated the Veterans Banner display on Pikes Peak, a project we started 4 years ago to honor the veterans of Little Compton, a project we look forward to every year. Thank you for coming out tonight to engage and learn more about the candidates.
All right, thank you. That's the end of the opening statement. So we're going to move to questions now. Like I said, I'll sort of call out where we are in the program and how it's going to go. Some of these questions were taken right from the community. Some were, like I said, redrafted by me to sort of stay on topic, but with different phrasing. And we're going to bounce around a lot of different topics. Generally speaking, any topic that comes up, this might be the only time we're talking about it. So if you're not one of the people called on, you want to jump in, you might want to think about that. There are a couple of questions related to financial budget matters, but then most of the rest are sort of one topic questions, and then we move on to something else. So I'll give you a preview. All right, the first question, Mr. Pino, we'll start with you. We'll go down 1, 2, 3. You are on the hot seat. Some candidates in the race, hold on. It's 1 minute answers. Wilbur McMahon is a 5-star school, is authorized as an international baccalaureate world school, and its students have been achieving some of the highest test scores in the state. What more could or should the school district be doing to advance academic achievement?
That's a great question. There's several things that can be done. The International Baccalaureate Program does have some aspects that I really like, and I'd like to see actually increased. I believe that critical thinking is very important, and I believe that children need to be taught how to think and not what to think. And in order to instill that, I believe also that one should really focus on the core subjects. The core subjects are so important. There is an awful lot of, forgive me for stumbling here, there's an awful lot of the curriculums coming down from the state and other larger bodies that insist that the end point is equity. And I don't want to see students in a situation where they're in the same place at the end. I believe that we should be using critical thinking to have students, rather to identify students particular, if I use my tongue,
You can keep going if you like.
I'm sorry. We have to identify student strengths so those students can thrive on those skills that they have and those strengths that they possess. That can be done through focusing on the core and critical thinking aspects. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Chase, same question. 1 minute.
Could you repeat?
Yes, there were some introductory accolades for the school and how it's performing, but the essential question is, what more could or should the school district be doing to advance academic achievement?
Well, I'll start by saying that I am a really big fan of the International Baccalaureate program. The more I learn about it, the more I wish it had been around when I was young. I wish they would offer it for adult education. I think an area that is helpful and something that the school is already addressing in its strategic plan is to provide more social emotional learning. I think that's a basis that only enhances critical thinking and equity amongst students. So that's what I would suggest, is that we continue to enforce and embrace the social emotional learning.
Thank you. Amy Gleicher, same question, 1 minute, 1 minute answer.
Yeah, so I think when things are working, we keep doing them, right? I think we need to keep all of the supports and resources in place that we have, and we need to dive into this International Baccalaureate program and really make sure that we are utilizing all of the amazing, principles that support the IB program. And I agree with Susan. I think that a holistic education that supports students in all areas and supports the whole child is what will continue to have us see these exceptional academic successes that we know we have with her.
Thank you. Anyone else want to jump in on this? Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
So something that we should do and we don't do at the school is use more of the resources that we have here in our town, the farmers that we have in here, the environmental, the water that's here. Get back to the basics with the students, show them that it's not all just classwork and book work. You got to show them also what we have and how rich this community is to live here and to learn here. And that's something that I think we need to show more of to the students, and that to get them away from the screen a little bit, let's bring them out into the environment. I think that's what we really need.
Thank you. All right, we move to a new question. Travis, we're going to start with you. Serving on a school committee, and I know you sort of touched on this in your opening statement. What's that? It's 1, 2, 3. You'll have 1 minute answers. You get the wild card. And now Travis, we start with him. It's going to go Travis, Mike, and down here to Brandon. All right, question. Serving on a school committee is often very personal for people. They have students in the schools, or they've graduated from the school district and want to give back or see improvement. Can you share why you are running for school committee and your connection to this school community?
I think it's my connection to the town primarily that brings me here, and obviously my love for my kid. It's a personal situation. I think passion is the word that can sum up what I'm going to bring to the table and how I can use that personal energy to bring better things. Not that the school is broken in any way, shape, or form, or we need to go and change a bunch of things, but I do think that, touching on what Mike just said also, there's ways to get back to our roots and also move on into the, into the technical world at the same time.
Thank you. Mr. Rocha.
Sure. I'm coming up on the end of my 4th year running as a school committee member. And it was a lot of learning and going through. But I got to say that As in my opening statement, I'm very community-driven. I give a lot back to this town. I've had 6 kids go through the school system. This is my way of giving back to the town, giving back to the school. It's great to see the kids come right up from the beginning through graduation. We're going to the high school graduation. It was an honor as a school committee member to be able to step on the stage and be able to give your child their diploma after 12 years worth of schooling. So that to me is something that it was a reward for me, but it's also, I would say, it was a great experience overall. But I think that just being into the daily grinding and making things better for the school is beyond myself and for everybody. So that it's for all students, all families. That's what we're here for.
Thank you. And Mr. Pinio, same question.
My background, and I'm running for 2 reasons, first of all. With my background in facility management and also some time on the budget committee, I have seen that if we use this school building for 10 months out of the year, it costs roughly $330,000 a month to maintain and operate this building. It's come to my attention through some research that I think that could be improved upon greatly. For instance, there's some school districts in this state that are paying just for general supplies like copy paper, $12 or more per ream of paper, whereas other school districts in the state of Rhode Island are paying $3.89 for the same paper and the same quality. I don't know why that is. I think we could do much better and save a lot of money that way, and I believe that I could assist greatly with that. Furthermore, I've always believed that education was basically could be represented with a triangle, and that triangle with each apex at the triangle could be a parent, and then another at the other apex, the student, and then of course the school. Now, unfortunately, on March 13th, 2024, I watched the policy subcommittee in the current school committee try to use language that was intended to remove or obscure parental involvement in education. And unfortunately, I didn't agree with that, and I knew I had to do something, and or at least try. And I believe that if one element is removed from that triangle of trust, the quality of education will suffer greatly.
Thank you. Anyone else want to jump in on this? So I want to remind the candidates, we gave you 5 wild cards, and they are going to go fast. And the only reason we limit it is just if we don't, we'll all be here till 10 o'clock tonight. Or you guys can go home, and the rest of us will be here till 10 o'clock. I don't want you to not talk, but I also want to sort of remind you that we'll use up the time fast if we do. All right, so the next question, 1-minute answers, is going to go Ms. Chase, Ms. Fleischer, and Mr. Snow. Some candidates in the race have talked about protecting the school budget. In your opinion, what does that mean? Do you believe the public schools are being properly funded?
Well, that's a good question. I believe our school is properly funded. Can't hear me? I do believe our school is properly funded. Each year when we come to the town meeting, for the past several years, our community has supported that budget without question. I think because it's been a thoughtful, good budget. I'm not sure about, I haven't looked into the budgets of other communities in the state, but I do think that ours is well funded, and I think our results, our 5-star and that are indicative of that.
Ms. Fleischer, same question. Yeah. Some candidates have talked about protecting the school budget. In your opinion, what does that mean? And do you believe the public schools are being properly funded?
So I think protecting the budget means continuing to keep our students and their needs at the center of what we do. a responsible budget is important, and continuing to fund it means that we continue to have a high-achieving school consisting of exceptional teachers and specialists. It's a well-maintained facility. It's our high-quality curriculums, state-of-the-art technology. I think that because of the administration that we have and the thoughtful school committee that we have had historically, we have presented really responsible budgets, and we can see the fantastic results that we've had. As a person working in public education, I'm going to say public education should always be well funded. So,
Mr. Snow, same question.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I could just add to Amy's words on that, and it seems that the current committee and everybody involved has done their best to keep a well-balanced balanced spreadsheet and keeping the funds spread around in the correct areas. That being said, I'd like to add that living in this community kind of provides us another avenue. We live in the world of nonprofits around here, and many people who would like to contribute to the school in some way. I think maybe there's extracurricular means of obtaining funds to do, outside of the box projects. Not just in the form of grants, but maybe local people who'd like to be contributing more to the school.
Thank you. I got another financially related question. So, Mr. Rocha, we'll start with you. We'll come down to Mr. Pino and Ms. Chase next. 1 minute answers on these. Do you believe the school department is being fiscally responsible, making the right investments in public education?
So that's a two-sided question. So I'll touch on that. So right now, our current budget for our school is $8.6 million. We have 183 students that are from Little Compton. We have 32 students that are tuition students. Everything in our school has value. The seats in the classroom have value, the teachers have value, our facility has value. It costs us about $26,000 to educate a child. We're bringing in tuition students at a rate of $6,000 per school year. So in that aspect, there's a makeup of $20,000 that the taxpayers are funding for that tuition student to come in. So in my eyes, we're not doing that correctly.
Mr. Pino?
I'll continue on the tuition aspect of this. We charge anywhere from $2,750 to $6,000 per pupil per year. One worry that I have is that the amount has not gone up to match inflation, rising budget requests, rising expenses in a way that's similar to like the way cost of living would go up with a pension. I believe that the seats indeed do have value, and I think it's significant. Taxpayers are providing all of the consumables, computers, etc., for every student for the entire year, according to the school Facebook page. What is often not considered is the value of the professional teachers that will also now have to be distributed to the additional pupils. We know that it costs at least $26,000 per pupil to educate in this town. That value, I believe, can be backed up by the fact that districts have clauses that allow for seeking restitution for the full cost of the education if found to be sending a child fraudulently to the district. I don't know anybody who has $26,000 worth of goods that they'll sell for $6,000.
Ms. Chase?
Yes. My understanding of this situation is that we are really concerned about declining enrollment for a number of reasons. Low birth rate, lack of affordable housing, so many reasons. So I think it's a big advantage to us that we are bringing in tuition-paying students. And so many of the costs are fixed costs that do not increase by adding another student in my mind. So I also understand that at one point we started out asking $15,000 and lowered it incrementally, and it wasn't until we hit the 6,000 that people started wanting to send their children here. So I disagree with the thought that we are losing money on those tuition students.
Okay, so anyone else want to touch on this? Now, I should have been clear, with the wild cards, you can also, you know, even if you've already answered the question, you can jump back into the conversation if you want to rebut. I'm not trying to compel you to do it. You're welcome to, the format allows you to do that. You can jump back in and expand on your answer or respond to what someone else has said. And if that's, yes, Amy, jumping in?
I'm going to jump in.
Please do.
I agree with Sue's points. I think that this $26,000 number is an example of where our smaller numbers have a big impact, right? So we deal with unique circumstances here in town. We don't have a high school in town, so we're sending our high school students out for their education, and that's at a cost. So these things impact that number. And I have the same understanding based on what I followed in the school committee, and that the tuition was set at a higher rate to begin, and we were not receiving applications for out-of-town tuition. And when that number was lowered, is when we finally started to see that movement, and nearly doubled out-of-town tuition between last year and this year.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move to the question. Actually, Ms. Fletcher, we'll start with you. We'll go down the row, and Travis and Mike. What role should the school committee play in day-to-day operations of the schools? Should the committee have a say in what lessons are taught in the classrooms, for example, or what books are on the shelves in the library?
So I think the role of the school committee is pretty clear. I think our job is to present a balanced budget, to discuss policy, and to hire our superintendent. We have very well credentialed and qualified experts here at school, and they are the ones who should be deciding what our curriculums look like and what we have in our school library. So that's my feeling as you know, a candidate for school committee. I feel like I'm pretty clear as to what my role would be on the school committee.
Mr. Snow, 1 minute, same question.
Yeah, kind of to the same note, I don't think that I would ever change anything about the role of the school committee as it exists now. You know, it seems like there are you know, many people that are better suited to decide exactly what goes on in the day-to-day inside the school.
Mr. Rocha.
The principal takes care of the day-to-day operations. The superintendent is in charge of the school district, which in this particular case is one school for us. As far as our relationship, the school committee to the day-to-day operations, we don't need to get into that. But what I don't like is what the state came and they took away, I'll say, some powers from the actual school committees, and it's not just us, that's throughout the whole state, where everything gets put back onto the superintendent. So that's one thing that I would say that I do not agree with. The powers that the state gave the individual superintendents and every individual community.
Thank you. Anyone else on this topic? Touch on the 10-foot pole? That's fine. Next question, we're going to start with Mr. Pino and the three of you. Some parents have talked about, not some parents, some candidates have talked about parents feeling disenfranchised from the schools. Do you agree with this position? As a school committee member, what could you do to resolve divisive issues like this?
Well, that certainly has come up parents feel disenfranchised, and they have felt in school committee meetings that the meetings were a bit intimidating for themselves. And you know, a school committee meeting, especially in the section where public opinion is solicited and offered, is a time where people should be able to stand up and be able to speak their mind and not feel as if they are facing intimidation or condescension. I would make sure that the individuals would receive the public open-handedly, open arms. You should be able to say anything that you want in front of that committee. I know we had a speaker come in who was not received particularly well, and I found that particularly offensive because the individual came on his own time, on his own accord, and spoke at a public input area, and there were members of the current sitting school committee that chose to voice their opinions against his thoughts while they were speaking. Now, regardless of what the individual's thoughts are, it's not up to the individual to censor them. That person has to be able to finish their thought. We receive a stipend for this position, and your job is to listen to that individual while they're here.
You're all very enthusiastic, and we put the applause down and it'll help us get through it quicker. Ms. Chase, same question.
Yes, when I decided to run for this position, the first school committee meeting that I watched on YouTube was that March 13th meeting where Mr. DiGiorgio came and spoke. And frankly, I was a little shocked. And he spoke for about, I believe it's a 3-minute time limit that you have when you speak. And it should be about an item that is on the agenda, which it was not. So I disagree that he was treated unfairly. I felt they gave him, he had quite a long time to talk, and then the chair of the school committee invited him to ask for that issue to be placed on a subsequent agenda. So, and I do agree that everyone should be able to feel free to speak their mind, but this gentleman was not from our town in the first place, and I just don't agree that he was treated unfairly.
Thank you. We don't charge you that she only went over by like 4 seconds, so we'll take her wild card off. Susan Chase. If you go over by 2 to 3 seconds, we're not going to charge you. If you go over by 10 to 15, we will. All right, same question, Ms. Fleischer. One repeat question because we've wandered a little bit. Some candidates have talked about parents feeling disenfranchised from the schools. Do you agree with this position? As a school committee member, what could you do to resolve divisive issues like this?
I think that it's unfortunate that parents feel disenfranchised, although I have not heard that directly from parents. I agree actually with Mr. Pino's statements earlier that we should be working together as a team, and that includes the student, the family, and the school community. I think that our meetings, our school committee meetings are set up so that people can have an opportunity to speak about things that they're concerned about. Our meetings are posted, they're open to the public, as are the subcommittee meetings. So I think that folks have a chance to have their voices heard and to be able to raise their concerns. I think that we are running our meetings in an appropriate and respectful manner, and that people have the opportunity to show up and use their voice and raise their concerns as they feel appropriate.
Thank you. You look like you're, yeah, please, 30-second wild card, Mr. Richard.
So I'd like to I'll have to respectfully disagree with that. There are parents that feel intimidated when they come to our school committee meetings, and that is so wrong on so many levels. As Brandon said, that parents should feel welcome when they come to our school committee meetings. Think about this, since June of this past year till now, we lost 15 students. 15 students. They didn't just leave because they didn't like, or they liked Little Compton, or because they liked the schools. You don't just leave. There's a problem. You want everybody to feel welcome. That's what everybody's saying. They want everybody to be included. But when you get feedback that they're feeling intimidated, that's not a good feeling when you're sitting on this side of the table.
That was two, so, no,
So, can I ask, what are you doing in increments of, please?
these wildcards are 30 seconds.
So when you go over the 30 seconds, you get charged 1 or 2, please, just so I know.
The first one was 1, and then you talked for about 50 seconds, so it was 2. But yeah, go ahead, Mr. Snow.
Just touching on anybody feeling like they're being excluded from a political meeting or a public event or any sort of situation where your opinion matters. If I were to be elected into the position, my door is always open, my line is always ready, and you know, I plan on being incredibly active in communicating with all of you if I do get into that position.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move to a new question. Mr. Snow, we're starting with you, going from there. These are 1-minute answers. What are some of the most pressing issues our students face today, particularly tweens and teens, and what could you do at the school committee level to address them?
I think one of the biggest problems that we're facing, you know, as a species right now, but mostly our kids are suffering from the worst, is quality of food. The thing that I would like to see changed in this building most of all is what the kids are consuming for their lunch and you know, what we're paying for as parents. I think that whether it be teens or tweens or young elementary school kids, we need to worry about how to feed them properly and they'll learn better. I think that there not being a kitchen in this school is a big trigger on me coming back, or not coming back, but coming up and participating in running for candidacy. And I think if we had a kitchen and we were feeding our kids from our farms in this town, we'd all be better for it, and the kids would be happy.
Mr. Roach.
Can you just please repeat that, please?
Yeah. What are some of the most pressing issues our students face today, particularly tweens and teens? What would you do at the school committee level to address them?
Electronics. I think there's too much electronics with the kids in the school and everybody trying to keep up with everybody else. I know it just recently instituted in Fall River, they actually just tried, where they're gonna actually lock up the phones during the day. I think it's a big distraction as far as from an educational standpoint. And the kids, you don't get 100% of their attention during the day. So from a school committee person, I would actually be willing to look at that policy.
Mr. Pena, same question.
Certainly. I think one of the largest things that affects children in those brackets today, of course, is screen time. I agree with Mr. Snow in regard to high fructose corn syrup in the diet. That's very detrimental. And also detachment from their town and their local environment and their local history. From a school committee perspective, I would advocate to see those children out in this very unique and safe learning environment much more. The resources available to this school, close at hand, is a rare gift, and I feel we should be using it to our students' advantage to the best that we can. Why should a child not know what the scientific name for a lobster is, Homarus americanus? Why should a student not know that a quahog is Maya arenaria? Why should a student not be able to walk up to a stone wall and say, this is granite, that's shale, that piece over there is milky quartz? They're detached from their environment. We've got to put the screens down and get them out in the environment.
Thank you. Yeah, Ms. Chase, use the microphone. This is 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Well, I just wanted to jump in on this one because I do agree with Travis that food is really important. I do know that, that's one of the things I've been looking into because it is something that's near and dear to my heart. And I know that the school has recently locked in a farm to seafood grant that will be enacted, and I know that there have been significant changes in the quality of the food that they have been able to receive.
Thank you. Ms. Gleason, did you want to jump in, or you don't?
Oh, I do.
Okay, go ahead. You got 30 seconds.
Yes, so as somebody working in public education, I see this every day, and I think that some of the biggest issues that are facing children is that they're adjusting to a really fast-paced world, right? They came out of the pandemic, so many changes during that time. We know that screen time, social media use, all of those things have huge impacts on our children. So I think what we can do as a school committee is to continue to fund excellent programming in our school that's going to, again, address the whole child. So we're going to pay attention to their social emotional needs, as well as their cognitive needs. So I think that's what the role that we can play as a school committee in this issue.
Thank you. All right, moving to a new question. We have 3 left, just so you guys know, starting with Ms. Chase. Are you worried about whether Little Compton will still have its own school district 10 to 20 years from now? If so, what could the school committee do today to affect what public education looks like here in this town a decade from now?
Thank you for that question, because that is a big concern of mine, is that the possibility that this school may not be here in 10 to 20 years with declining enrollment and just the issues that we face, which I know will be addressed when the town council candidates are up here. I think we can stay the course of what we've been doing by attracting out-of-district students and funding this school as it needs to be funded to stay open. It would be such a loss to our community to lose this gem. So that's it.
Ms. Gleason, same question. Yeah. Are you worried whether Little Compton will have its own school district 10 to 20 years from now? If so, what could the school committee do today to affect what public education looks like here a decade from now?
Yeah, so that is a worry and it's a real concern. And these trends that we're seeing of decreased enrollment it's unfortunately, it's not new and statewide. From 2006 to 2011, Rhode Island saw a 5.5% decline in public school enrollment. So it's real, and I think as far as this community, I think affordable housing absolutely plays a part in that. And I think we're combating it with our out-of-town tuition program. And again, nearly doubling the numbers that we had from last year. So we are attracting those students and families. And above that, I think we need to continue to stay current and relevant and keep looking to the next forward-thinking initiative, keeping our school strong. And that's what we're doing. With the IB program up and running this year, and with all of the wonderful achievements that we have. So we need to keep on that course.
Thank you. And Mr. Snow, same question.
To say that I'm not worried about this school in 20 years would be false. I think that from my perspective, it would be really interesting to be able to use our accolades and the IB program and all the things that, the great things that the school has to offer to, bring some sort of a rigorous marketing plan into play that can increase that tuition amount that has been talked about a couple times tonight. Now it's kind of It seems like it's a touchy point, so maybe there's a way to make it so people want to spend more money to send their kids to this school, and that increases not only our enrollment, but our coffers a little bit at the same time.
Thank you. All right, good question, Mr. Rocha, we're going to come back around. In your opinion, are the schools investing too much, too much or too little in areas such as social emotional programming, learning specialists, clinicians, and other student support programs?
So sitting at the school committee level, that's a day-to-day operation. So I can't give you an honest answer on that because we're not involved with that. That's not the job, that's not the role of the school committee. So I would have to reflect back to the superintendent or the principal on what the needs are for the students.
Mr. Pinion?
Too much or too little, it's very hard to deliberate, certainly from the point of view of a school committee person. However, I do think it's very important that we address a student as a whole. Now, granted, the core is very, very important, and that must be emphasized. But nevertheless, we have to also look at the health of the entire child, the umbrella that supports that child, so they're then able to come here and learn effectively.
And Ms. Chase?
Could you repeat the question,
Yep.
please?
In your opinion, are the schools investing too much or too little in areas such as social emotional programming, learning specialists, clinicians, and other student support programs?
Well, all I can say to that is I'm really impressed by the dedication and I just have so much admiration for the staff that I've met here and the administration since I've been learning about it more. So in these days, with school shootings and so many stresses on our children, I think whatever money we spend on social emotional learning and whole child nurturing is money well spent.
Okay. Anyone else on that? There's one more question. You're probably all going to want to answer this one, and you all have time left. Ms. Fleischer, we're starting with you. We're going down the next three. Is there anything we have not talked about yet tonight that you would like to talk about? 1 minute answers.
I just want to emphasize the importance to me of making sure that we maintain as an inclusive, supportive, safe environment for all of our students. And that comes in the form of, reviewing and revising policies that keep our students at the center of the focus. So I just want to reiterate that the school is wonderful, and we want to make sure that our kids want to be here and feel safe and supported and included in this community.
Mr. Snowman.
There's been a lot of talk of screen use up here and the positives of it and how it can be used as a thing that connects you to the international world, and there's the negatives where it's all-consuming. I just wanted to touch on the fast-paced reality that we're all living in on our phones these days and how it affects kids most of all. I don't think that we should all be as accessible as we are in the sense of knowing what our friends are doing all the time and being hung up on paying attention to this and that that's involved with the device. I think that the phone can be used or the device can be used for education, but when it comes to the school, I think that there needs to be some sort of a policy put into place on the management of social devices and how they get used in the school. That's a part of my agenda if I were to be elected, and yeah, I thought it would be an important thing to bring up. Thank you.
And Ms. Rocha.
I'm sorry, can you just repeat that, please?
Yep. Is there anything we have not talked about yet tonight that you would like to talk about?
Sure, we have not acknowledged the staff in the school. We have a high-performing school. We have great teachers here. We have great students. We want to give credit where credit is due. And that's one thing that we have not spoken about here tonight. And I think we want to really realize what we do have in this community. I think some of the things that have been talked about tonight, we've talked about, cost of students, what have you. Everybody wants what's best for the students, they want what's best for the teachers, they just want it done efficiently. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? It's fine if you don't. Yeah, you may, go right ahead.
I'll use one, because if I may. As Mr. Rocha said, there are some wonderful achievements that are taking place in this school in terms of particularly ELA and some of the younger grades. One of the things that I feel is exceedingly important is that individuals address the needs where we know there's a problem. I get the feeling sometimes that people are sitting on their laurels with the achievement, but I've always had more respect for management that will look at a problem and face it head on, and that's very, very important to do so. And I feel that could have been a way where students would have left here more prepared based on the mathematics scores when they went to high school.
That's an interesting one. Okay, we're moving to closing statement. So, as I said at the beginning, everyone is allotted equal amount of time. So whatever wild cards you did not use, you can add on to your closing statement if you'd like. You don't have to. We're going to start, we'll go the same direction. Mr. Pino, we'll start with you for closing statement. You have one wild card left, plus your 30-second closing statement. You could have up to a minute if you'd like.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. For those of you who know me, I keep to myself most of the time. I feel that it's unfortunate that an election cycle has a popularity contest aspect to it. Bottom line is, if this were a job interview and I were to provide my resume, my experience shows clearly that I am an optimal candidate for this position. I know how to run a facility like this efficiently. I know how to educate a child for the challenges that face them. And with that, I cordially ask for your vote in the upcoming election.
Thank you. Ms. Chase, you could have up to 2 minutes if you'd like. Or less.
Running for this office has given me a welcome opportunity for self-reflection. I believe that my life experience and training in accounting, early childhood development, community service, and especially as a parent and grandparent, will make me an asset to the Little Compton School Committee. I would consider it a privilege to be elected. So I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Ms. Fleischer, you can have up to a minute if you'd like.
So you've all heard a lot about some of the important issues here tonight and where we stand. I just want to be clear. I stand in favor of inclusive and equitable policies that support all students. I support innovative and engaging academics. I believe that investing in our school is an investment in our community and our future leaders. I've seen firsthand that a holistic approach to education that nurtures a child's creative, social, emotional, and cognitive development is what makes a child and a school successful. As a parent and professional, I've been continuously impressed with the quality programming and forward-thinking initiatives that benefit the Wilbur School community and elevate our children's learning experience. I want to continue with the positive momentum, supporting our strong administrative leadership, dedicated teachers and staff, and involved families that are engaged. I appreciate your support, and I hope to have your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Snow. You can have up to 2.5 minutes if you'd like.
I don't think I'll need that much, but thanks. Putting the parents and you all ahead of my own agenda is priority if I'm elected. That being said, I do plan on holding true and attempting to, continue to integrate whole foods into the kids' diet. Assess screen use and be more mindful on how those things are taken into account, and attempting to implementation of more outdoor time or some sort of outdoor initiative in the school. I don't think that they get to spend near enough time as they used to outside, and that's my big drive, guys. Vote for me. Thank you.
And Mr. Rocha, you have up to a minute.
I am asking for your vote on November 5th. My goal is to ensure our school runs more efficiently while maintaining its high academic standards. The children and the families of this community are its foundation, and I'm committed to keeping our schools open and thriving. Despite what some may claim, it's not true that Republicans want the school closed. I am a proud graduate of the school. I believe in fostering an environment where families and community members feel welcome and respected at school committee meetings without feeling intimidated or labeled. I ask for your vote on November 5th.
All right, thank you all. You may now open. And certainly take a minute to stretch your legs, but we're running a little bit late, so we're going to get the council candidates up there within 5 minutes if we can. They're all very cozy, so they probably want to move this program along. Take a minute. I'll stall. Red mushroom. Then Rigo. This is very dramatic. Rigo is next. Then Mataronis. Lewis. No, Mataronis was, yeah. And Halsey, Talbot, and more. So yeah, so you got it all set. Yeah. All right, so we're not gonna, I don't need to repeat the format for anyone. If you were watching the first program, you have a sense of it. The slight tweak with this program, we just have 1 minute opening statements. We have 1 minute answers. The questions are being asked in 4-person blocks. So each question goes to 4 people. You all get 1 minute to answer it. And then anyone else who wants to jump in on the topic, you're welcome to. And then we move to the next 4 people. Same thing, wild cards are 30 seconds. When you jump into, you want to join the conversation, those are 30-second answers. And you all have 6 to use throughout the program. And the same 30-second closing statements. So, we can begin. We're going to go sing down the row. Let's start with Patrick McHugh with the 1 minute opening statement.
Hi, my name is Patrick McHugh. I am president of the town council. For people who don't know me, I've lived here my whole life. I've raised 2 sons here. I was lucky enough to move back. I spent 11 years on the recreation committee, and I enjoyed every second of it. I spent 7 years on the school committee, 4 years as chairman, and I loved every second of that also. As you can tell, I like being a public servant. We are here to serve you. We have a lot of issues that we're going to get into tonight. So I look forward to that exchange. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Golembeski.
Hi, I'm Paul Golombesky. I've been working on the council for over 20 years. Hopefully I've been doing a good job. But the way I got here was my mother was born on a farm on the north end of town. And my dad got stationed here during World War II. And he married the farmer's daughter. So that's my creation to come to town. So my roots go back to the 20s and the turn of the century. I want to say one thing. I was thinking while I was out there. If you elect us, don't forget us. There's never a crowd like this at a council meeting, unless it's something really controversial. But it'd be nice to have more people participate in our government.
Thank you. Robert Mushing.
Thank you, Bob Mushin. I did not choose my parents correctly. I've lived here only 32 years. However, I've been on the council for 20 years, and my fellow councilors have elected me president all of those years. I'd like to get away from that and tell you 3 pieces of news from the front that I'd like you to know about. Refunding the school building loan. The team that we work with has just successfully defended our Standard & Poor's AAA bond rating, which was unprecedented in the state. That top municipal rating we got, again, it's a critical step in approval of our loan refunding, and it translates into an annual savings of $33,000 in the amount due for the next 10 years. Yellow. 2 others, community survey. The survey of 55 and older citizens is almost finished. If you haven't done it and you're in that age bracket, please get on the survey. It'll help us prioritize the efforts our seniors say are most important to them. And this brand new modern van that we have coming as a result of a funding by RIPTA will replace the interim solution bus, which you probably walked by and has given us faithful service most of the time, but some of the time it hasn't. The one we're about to get is going to solve those problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Maureen Rigo.
My name is Maureen Rigo, and I've been in town for, I guess, 51 years. My husband and I raised 7 children here. I am a graduate of this school. I had Catherine B. McMahon for principal one year. My husband also born and raised in this town. I've been very active in the community. I was basically a stay-at-home mom with some part-time jobs from time to time. I'm very active in community service. I helped with the very beginnings of the food bank, and I worked on that for 6 or 7 years. I've always been very busy with what my children have done, so baseball, Little League, anything like that. I also helped, as a Democrat, elect a 5-Democrat town council back in the it might have been 90s, I can't quite remember. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary Mataronis.
Hi, I'm Gary Mataronis. I'm a lifelong resident of Little Compton for 71 years, and a commercial option on Secana Point for the last 61 years. My grandfather settled at Secana Point almost 120 years ago, and was also a lobster. All my 4 children, Mia, Gary Jr., Christy, Callie, live in Little Compton and attended JFK school as died, my brother Jim, and my father Jim Jr. I have dedicated my service to the town council for the last 26 years and would like to be re-elected to this position to bring a positive, common sense approach to politics in Little Compton. If re-elected, I want to work with our Ag Trust to see if we can get more help for the few farmers that are left, maybe entice farmers to farm the land the Ag Trust owns by building bonds on the land. I also want to help our senior citizens finding a gathering place for them and give them more tax relief. I will continue to be fiscally responsible in town council, and I ask for your vote in November. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott Lewis.
Welcome. My name is Scott Lewis, and thanks to the sponsors, along with everyone here, for taking time out of their schedule
to attend this evening's candidate forum. Tonight, we have an opportunity to talk about Little Compton and discuss important issues leading up to the November election. I am running for a seat on the Little Compton Town Council because I believe my background and work experience would be an asset. I was born and raised in Little Compton, attended William McMahon and Portsmouth High School. I feel very fortunate to have grown up in Little Compton, but I never really appreciated how unique Little Compton was until after graduating from college and starting a career. My employment with the state of Rhode Island gave me an opportunity to travel to and through every city and town in Rhode Island. And then realized how unique and special Little Compton is, and how important our natural resources are to the town. As to my work experience, prior to my retirement, my last 20 years was spent working for the Rhode Island Division of Taxation as a supervisor, dealing with tax law and tax policies. I have an understanding of how state and local governments operate. I love for Little Compton means I am willing to give as much time and effort required to serve as a member of the Little Compton Town Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Martina Halsey.
Good evening, and thank you all for being here. I am Martina Halsey, and I want to be your town council representative. I've lived in Little Compton for 9 years, which makes me an infant compared to everybody else. And I'm running because I want to give back to this town that has given me and my family so much. We're blessed to have our daughter living here, and our granddaughter also wants to live here. And I want other families who have children and grandchildren to possibly have the same opportunities that they've had. My background in hospitality, running my own restaurants, and consulting with private clubs will help me in deciding what's best for our town. In town, I cooked for the community center before David was hired. I served on the board of the Congregational Church. I'm currently on the Parish Life Committee for St. Andrews, and I'm on the board of the Wellness Center, so you kind of get that I love this town. I believe that we need to do everything to keep our town alive and thriving. We need to encourage and help our farming and business communities. We need to protect and keep our community and resources safe. I'll work with our 3 town organizations to further this goal. I'm new in town politics, but I will use my business background to learn and educate myself. I want the town to be the best version of itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Victoria Talbot.
Hi, I'm Victoria Talbot. I've lived in town for over 30 years. My husband Jake and I raised our 2 kids here while growing our home building business. When our kids were small, I was involved in the Wilbur School and served for 6 years on the board of the Education Foundation. I'm an active member and lay leader at the Congregational Church, where I'm involved in outreach to families in need and seniors with limited resources. I'm concerned about the changes to our town due to the high cost of real estate. Young families and seniors on fixed incomes are being priced out, businesses are closing, and our school enrollment is declining. If we want to preserve the fabric of our community, we need socioeconomic diversity. We need year-round families with kids in our school and customers for our businesses. To do this, we need all of our town boards and committees to work together. The past few years, I've been attending as many town board meetings as I can and volunteering as a bridge builder between these groups, advocating for this kind of collaboration. And as a counselor, I'll continue to build on that work as we plan for our future. Thank you.
Thank you. And Andrew Moore.
Thank you so much to everyone for coming out tonight. A big thank you to Scott and the East Bay Media Group for helping out, and a huge thank you to the Newport County League of Women Voters for thinking quick on their feet after we were thrown that October surprise by the Republican campaign. My name is Andrew Irarete Moore. I've been serving on the town council since 2018, and I hope to earn the privilege of continuing that role to serve our community. We live in one of the most special communities in the world, but every year it seems like part of our community slips away bit by bit. We have fewer amenities in town than we did 20 years ago. We no longer have a gas station, fewer places to dine out, and farms and roadside stands are closing. My friends and peers who grew up in town and want to settle here to work and raise a family can no longer afford to buy a home, let alone find a year-round rental. And if they're lucky enough to live on a family property, there aren't many jobs in town to sustain a family. Seniors who've lived in town and contributed to this community their entire lives are struggling to find the proper care, companionship, and nutrition that will help them live with dignity and happiness. We're surrounded by fertile farmland that we've done almost nothing to place willing and able families on those lands to produce and continue the farm coast tradition. Even though we have so many seemingly insurmountable problems, I take courage from the folks in our community that are stepping up to help tackle these issues. Affordability is on the forefront of the conversation for the first time in years, and a host of people and town organizations are taking steps to make Little Compton accessible for all our community members. I'm asking for your vote to be reelected to the council so we can continue supporting the solutions to these issues and help the folks that make Little Compton so special.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move to questions now. As I said, these are going in groups of 4. And we're going to hit on some meaty topics. And it's tough because, if you're one of the 5 who's not called upon, you might want to jump in and use up your wild cards. But this is all structured, so we get as many topics on the table as we can, and so that we can get out of here at a reasonable hour. There's a lot of you, so this is the way it's going to go. But, so in this case, the questions are not going to be repetitive, so sort of each question is going to be a pretty unique topic, and then we'll jump to a new topic. So, Mr. McHugh, starting with you. Philip, and I didn't write this question because I'm not local and I don't know this as well as the author did, but I'm putting some faith that it is all accurate. For the last 5 years, parking at Secundit Point has gotten out of control. Parking fines have increased, yet the problem stays the same, with vehicles parked on all sides of the road, on the beach, and even into the bushes on the beach. What should the town do before next summer to make the area safer for all and to help protect the shoreline and its waters?
Yes, thanks for the question. I live on the other side of the town, and me and my wife just got e-bikes. And I rode down there probably 4 weeks ago and was amazed. It was like another town. It was crazy. We did just talk about it at our last meeting. We had the proper commission in, and we're going to start. We decided that we were going to have some stickers down there for fishermen. I've never caught a fish before, so I'm sure Gary can tell us about the fishermen that are getting stickers. There is an effort to try to curb it down there. There's going to be a public hearing on this coming up, if I'm not mistaken. But it certainly is an issue. It's dangerous. And I almost fell off my bike. It was crazy down there. But it's an issue, and we are addressing it.
Mr. Golombowski.
It's really kind of simple. Signage, more police patrols, dealing with the state traffic commission, having them set up the signs and tell us what we can do or what we're going to enforce. We've got to give clear guidance to the police department on how to deal with it. Because if we're down there now and they're in a vague area of their park, they don't want to give them a ticket. We just need more guidance for the police department, and we need the state traffic commission to get involved. Thank you.
Mr. Marshall.
To pick up on that, the signs that are there often disappear. They're not where they were posted, or the arrows are reversed so that people park in the wrong places. We need to look at that. We need to also look at our ordinances and make sure that the ordinance correctly defines what it is we want the parking down there. My fellow councilor, Mr. Mataronis, is an expert in the area. We have often worked together on creating draft ordinances. That'll be our next step with this, to give the police something that can be enforced and without question.
And Ms. Rigo, the same question.
I could not quite hear what you were saying when you were reading the original question. I'm sorry.
There's an intro about a lot of the problems with parking down at Secundit Point.
Excuse me. I'm still missing.
I'm sorry.
Is it age-old?
No, there's a lot of problems with parking down at Secundit Point.
Okay.
And the question is, what should the town do before next summer to make the area safer for all and to help protect the shoreline and its waters?
First of all, I do attend Lloyd's Beach from time to time, although this summer I was not there frequently. I was unaware that there was a parking problem. I know 2 weeks ago, maybe, there was a big historical event that took place. I'm wondering what time of year, it must be the summertime, that people are having a hard time parking, especially with the boaters, and I can't really add to what these gentlemen have already said.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to step in on that, please.
You may.
So, I was on the Harbor Commission for 7 years. I was the president of 5 of them. I live in Secana Point. I'm very aware of what this is about. One morning in August, I got a phone call on Saturday from one of our fishermen, and he said he didn't have a place to park. Some of you know I own a lot across the street. I said, just take the rope off, you guys can park across the street. I tried to bring this to fruition 2 years ago. I got some kickback on it, so I dropped it. Now it's a real problem. The chairman of the Harbor Commission and I went to the police chief and discussed it with him. So now we have parking signs down there. If you're a commercial fisherman, you're going to get tags put in your truck. You're going to be able to park on the west side, on the east side, on the east side, and the south side. And people that are coming to visit the point are going to be able to park on the north side and the west side of the fisherman's lot down there. So we are working on it. There's going to be a public hearing, I believe, very soon. So right now, it's not the time of year where we really need a situation down there. All the fishing go by, all the people that come down and fish on the bright water aren't coming down anymore. So this is something that's going to be remediated very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if no one else will move to a new question. Mr. Mataronis, we're actually starting with you. Go Mataronis, Lewis, Halsey, Teller. Also another question I did not bring, just to be clear. The Little Compton Police Department has not released a police report to the Secana Times in a very long time. Surely things are happening here that people should be aware of. In other areas of town government, there have been questions about transparency. How would you, if elected, address accountability and transparency in town government and services such as the police?
Well, you know, I noticed that myself. The Tiverton Police Department was always in Secana Times. The Little Compton Police Department used to have their write-up to let us know what was going on in town. I think it's necessary for the residents of the town to know if there's a break-in so they can be aware of it and to be on the lookout for it. And also, if there's no break-in, so we can see what's going on. So if this is the case, maybe Mr. Marshall and I can have a sit-down with the Chief of Police and discuss this with him. I hope that'll come to fruition.
Mr. Lewis.
There's probably no reason why they haven't released the police report. So I guess the first thing we should do is, why aren't you doing it? And let's do it. And I believe in open government, transparency, everything should be open to the public. Every meeting, everyone's going to town, everyone should be aware of, and should be, willing to work with us. I'm willing to work with anybody to get it open.
Ms. Halsey.
I'm agreeing with Mr. Lewis. I'm agreeing with Mr. Lewis on transparency, but I think the first question is, I know things have happened in town, but why are they not being reported? So I think what we need to do is talk to the chief and say what's going on here. And also, it might be nice if he also said in his report that nothing's happened in town. We haven't had any DUIs or any break-ins or any thefts or anything. So I think it's transparency, but I think we need to talk to the chief himself.
And Ms. Talbot?
Thank you. Yeah, I've heard some people talking about this, the lack of the police report. I know it's entertaining for some, but it really is important information to be shared. I would have no idea why it hasn't been shared, but I'm a pretty direct person, so I would start with going to the source and talk to the chief, as Martina said, and get to the bottom of it and find out, because I do think it's important. I would also say that obviously, I would imagine all of us believe in transparency in our government. I think one thing that we could really do to help people feel more engaged would be to do a better job of communicating our meetings. I know that it is posted on the Secretary of State's website and a couple places in town, and sometimes on the town website, but I would love to see like a weekly email bulletin that went out so everyone knew what meetings, what subcommittee meetings and all of that, and we could get some more civic engagement because our town would be better for it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we can move to a new question. Yeah, please, Mr. McHugh. It's pass the microphone down. These are 30-second credits.
Yeah, I just want to respond. Gary wants to have a sit down with Bob on the issue. I've had a sit down with Bob on the issue. It's my understanding that this is Chief Rain's decision. So I think if people want to know about how many cows are being tipped and who's breaking in, I think it is important for transparency. I'm more than happy to approach Chief Rains on the issue.
New question, Mr. Aguilar, starts with you, and then we come back around here with 1 minute answers. Several working groups in town are focused on attainable and affordable housing solutions that would enable young families, seniors, and the working middle class to remain in town. What do you foresee as a realistic solution for Little Compton? What will it take to get there?
So, since I was first elected on the council in 2018, I've been fortunate to serve as the council liaison to the Housing Trust. And it's one of the organizations that's doing a lot of work in town to tackle this affordability issue. We first got funding in 2018 from the building permits, and we've closed on 2 properties in town, and we're hoping to build 5 affordable units. That's just one approach. We also have the Commons Foundation that's hoping to do some work in town on the affordability issue. But I think there are other things that we can do, like looking at ordinances that can help with some of the year-round rentals or year-round stock of housing in town. We've taken up ordinances about non-occupied short-term rentals in the past that haven't moved anywhere, and we've supported the accessory dwelling units, which I think can help with that issue going forward.
Thank you. Mr. McHugh, same question.
Yeah, so this is a hot topic, and we have really 3 ways to do it. I think Andrew expressed the Little Compton Housing Trust is now getting on its feet. They've procured two houses. They can collect money now, you can give them donations. That's one way we can get it. The second way is the Commons Foundation. You've got some people that want to be a bank. They want to help people who aren't in the affordable category. I think we should support them and see if they can deliver on what they want. Also, the Ag Trust plays a part in this. The Ag Trust is not in the housing business, so let's be clear, but they do acquire land, and once they start to acquire land and farms, they need to put farmers on there with kids that go into school. So it's really a 3-pronged effort, and really what's most important is that these 3 entities need to get along, they need to communicate, they need to work together. They're all vying for the same pieces of land. So if we want to mitigate this real estate market, because we're not going to beat it, but if we can mitigate it somehow, I think those are the 3 ways or avenues that we have right now. Because in the past 25 years, we've been watching our year-round houses fly out of town, and we've seen declining enrollment in this building in the city, and we've done not much. So we have an opportunity to do something now. I'm hopeful we can do it, and I look forward to helping in that effort.
Thank you. Mr. Golombowski.
There's a reality here that sometimes gets overlooked. It gets talked about, but there's a lot of real estate in Little Compton that's just out of control, and you can't afford it. You get a lot somewhere that can see the water, and you're talking millions. You get a lot that's way inland in a swamp, and you're still getting hundreds of thousands for it. Somehow we have to balance how much open space versus how much affordable housing. No one's raising that question. Where is that limit? The state guideline is 10%. We're nowhere near that. I'm not sure of the number, but I think it's only like 10, maybe. I'm looking at the boards to ask them questions. So we have to look at open space, and we have to look at affordable housing, and we have to develop the land that's already sectioned off, already a buildable lot, already a house that exists. Thank you.
And Mr. Mushin?
The single effort that was successful in this regard was on Willow Avenue, where 6 units were brought together. The common denominator there, the other members of the panel here have correctly identified. That's what we have to do, and it's up to the council to be the formative agent that brings those groups together with a direct interest by a builder or someone who can make it happen. That's what we had with the property at 176 Willow Avenue, and that property is the example, but it hasn't been replicated. And I believe we can do that if we, the council, take and bring these various entities, most of whom we appoint, and therefore we can bring them together to say, this is a task we want to do. I'd like to jump in.
Mr. Mataronis, 30 seconds.
So, I can't really handle people that have been living here for 40 years, having children, and the children have to leave town because they can't afford to live here. The state came up with ADUs, which is an accessory dwelling unit, and I worked with Senator Palmer, who's here right now, so I'm not kidding you when I say I worked with him to come up with an ADU for the town of Little Compton. And the first time that I brought it to the council, it failed 4-1. I was the only one voted for it. So I went back and reworked it, and I came up with language that you had to have an adequate septic system and adequate water for an ADU, and that time it passed. So what an ADU is, if you got a garage on your property, and you got a family house, you can build something for your elderly family to live on top of the house or the garage, and then the kids can live in the house. And hopefully that's going to repeat. So when the kids get older, they can live in the in-law apartment, and their children can live in the house. And that's an affordable way to have our children stay in this town.
Yes, Ms. Talbot, please. 30 seconds.
Thank you. So for years we've heard that there's no silver bullet to solve this problem. And while that might be true, it doesn't mean we shouldn't all be trying. I think inaction carries a high price, and we can't just wait and watch while the real estate market changes our town. Some recent progress has come from the bottom-up grassroots efforts. As a housing affordability advocate, I've been outspoken from church suppers to public meetings to letters to the editor. I helped facilitate a first-of-its-kind public-private partnership with the Housing Trust to acquire land, and I encouraged the members of the Congregational Church to set aside over $100,000 from the sale of our parsonage for housing. As a counselor, I take a leadership role and start with what we have. A housing trust that needs more robust funding, a planning board to set more ambitious goals in our comp plan, and the Ag Trust, who's done an excellent job of preservation but needs to put farm families on the land. I put together a working group with a representative from each of these to meet with me regularly, collaborate, set goals, and work together to achieve them.
Yes, Ms. Rita, please go ahead.
The Ag Trust cap, I know that it was raised during the financial town meeting to 450. I strongly believe that it is too low. When that was first passed years ago, and it was at the 225 level, we all sort of looked at each other, and none of us had homes or properties that were even close to that. For young people to have to incorporate on top of buying a home in town, but also to pay that tax, which I feel sometimes is a regressive tax, because it doesn't hurt the rich, it hurts the poor. But to come up with an extra $15,000 to $24,000, depending on the cost of the home, is astronomical. And in many cases, they're already stretched. They're looking for help from their parents or their families. I think it's a conversation that needs to happen.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving to a new question. Ms. Rigo, actually starts with you, and then Matt or Ms. Lewis follows. Why do party politics matter so much here in North Compton? Should party differences play such a prominent role here at the local level?
I think they actually don't in many ways. Party politics, interesting. I can't wait till November 5th, truthfully. It's hard because it seems divisive. In a community like this, you hope that people are aware that, you know, to be a good neighbor means to go and talk to them, really, as Travis was saying before. But at the same time, I've seen where politics can, you know, help inform someone on certain issues, whether it's budget committee or town council. That's a tough question.
Mr. Pembroke, same question.
You know, growing up in this town, I think that's the way it's always been. You knew who the Republicans were, you knew who the Democrats were. That's just the way politics are in Little Compton. That's not to say that if you're a Democrat or Republican, you have to be adversarial, because that's not the way it is. If we would have a nonpartisan election, I think that would be good. But people are still going to know what party you're from. So how you stop that, I'm not sure. It's going to take somebody smarter than me to figure that one out. It's politics.
Mr. Lewis.
So this topic only comes up every election, but in the year in between, I've never heard of anything on the town council where politics becomes the issue. I think we all try, and I'm going to try to do what's best for Little Compton.
Ms. Halsey?
I think the temperature of our country is adversarial. In Little Compton, I don't feel that way. It was a little tricky with the setting the forms the way they were, but I think that we have nice participation tonight. And I think bipartisan and fairness in leadership is best for our town, and that's what I'm advocating.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Talbot, 30 seconds.
Thank you. Because we're such a small town, we're more than just candidates up here. You know, we're business owners, friends, neighbors. We're bound by shared values and community spirit. And I think that partisan messaging and negative comments aren't getting us anywhere except further apart. And I'd like to see that trend reversed in this town. And I think this forum tonight maybe could be a start.
Mr. McHugh.
Yeah, so we do have our differences, the Republicans and Democrats, we do fight hard about issues, but when November 5th comes, we still all have to live with each other. And I was on the Recreation Committee 11 years, the school committee 7, and now 3 on the town council. And I've been nothing but cordial and respectful to anyone that wants to bring something to the table that's going to move this town forward. Because it's all about the future, it's all about leaving this place better than what we found it. We need to leave our agenda, you know, in our back pocket and work together. And we're going to have to work together right after November 5th. And I look forward to being in that conversation.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving to a new question. Ms. Talbot, starts with you and goes from there. Several businesses and restaurants have struggled or closed in the past few years. How could you help small businesses stay in town?
Yeah, Little Compton has lost almost every public-facing business. In fact, the homepage of our website has a picture of Walker's Farm Stand, Keep with Produce, and that's just one of many shutter businesses. The price of these closures isn't paid just by the business owners, but by the residents who no longer have these places to shop, eat, gather, and connect as a community. If we want businesses to survive, we need to make it more affordable for year-round people to live here.
Mr. Moore?
I'll echo what Mrs. Talbot said. I think the affordability in town is a big contributor to, it's a barrier for small businesses to find help in conducting their business in town. I also think the town might look at getting rid of the tangible tax, which is just another expense on businesses. It's been really unfortunate to see so many institutions that we care about close over the last few years. And I think the council welcomes any comments or considerations from the public that might help move us forward in supporting those businesses for the future.
Mr. McHugh, same question.
Yes, all roads point back to the affordability of Little Compton, doesn't it? It's you know, it's $990,000 to buy a house here. Our businesses are shuttering, closed. You know, we have to work hard together to figure out a way to mitigate this retail market. It's the only way that we're going to be able to get some semblance of a community that's going to be viable in the future. So there's a lot of work to do. I'm happy to do it, work with anyone to do it, but we all need to be pulling the same direction. You know, it's just another sign of what's happening to our town. I don't know how many more signs we need, but we definitely need to galvanize together.
Yeah, Mr. Colin, sure. Several businesses and restaurants have struggled or closed in the past few years. How could you help businesses stay in town?
One thing is the permitting process. We can streamline that to make things easier. Tax incentives, we can tax breaks. So, hey, if you get an up-and-coming business, we'll tax you at a different rate while you start now. Then once you get them running, we'll bring you up to speed with the regular taxes. Advertising, the Newport Chamber of Commerce, we have a rep, I believe it's Mr. Moore, to get the word out to help us. But there's also, we're Little Compton, we're little. We don't have a lot here. I mean, we tend to burn our restaurants down for some odd reason. But maybe safety standards are one thing we need to work on.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. New question, Mr. Marshall, starts with you. With a large population of seniors here in town, the lack of a senior center continues to be an issue. Do you think the Oddfellows Hall would be an appropriate senior center? Is there a better option? Should the town council be working to create a true senior center here in town?
In a word, yes. What we expect will come from this survey is a sense that will steer us in the direction of the right answer to the question. The Grange Hall, or Oddfellows Hall, has limitations that are there that can be overcome, and we're working with the fire safety issues to overcome those. But at the end of the day, if that's not the right place for them to gather because it's not a first floor and easily accessible, then we've chosen the wrong path. So I believe that this survey will give us, I hope, some sense of where the population lies. If it doesn't, we can go back and ask the direct questions of individuals to try to get at it. But I'm reluctant to focus on one particular solution and say this is going to work, only to find that the seniors are not heading to that particular destination, but rather to another. So I would like to get that done before we end up with a finance.
Ms. Rita?
I think the seniors in town are people as a whole that have given tremendously to so much. one of my best friends just turned 90 this summer. She actually doesn't go to the senior center. I'm curious what the survey is going to find. And I didn't realize that I was eligible to take part because of my age. So I will go on and complete the survey. I think a first floor is optimal. I just cannot see the Oddfellows Hall, forgive me, but we took a family photo there once of my father and mother's family, and it's very steep. I know anything can happen there, but I just can't see elevators being used to bring everyone up. I would be interested, as your next counselor, in helping the seniors find that place. I do wonder if there's somebody that has a piece of property that would like to, donate for an optimal place for them. Thank you.
Mr. Mavrose?
Yeah, obviously in the present world, I think it'd be nice to have a senior center. We do have a community center, but sometimes that doesn't serve the seniors the way they want to be served. They have meals there, that's fine. I, along with Bob Marsh and Angela Dan, which seems to be the most leading president of seniors, went into the Oddfellows Hall. The elevator does work. We went up in the top floor and Angela thought it would work as a temporary situation, just to try to get them somewhere to be. Because they've been asking us for almost a year now to get them someplace. So I actually had a contractor come down and look at the stairs to put a new set of stairs in because that's a requirement for it to be used again. And I got a contract for the stairs, but we had to go up for an RFP. Well, the RFP was $2,000 more, just get a big proposal for it than what I could get the stairs in for. So I'm working at that. I think another solution is, I've asked the town administrator to get a proposal for the old fire station, which is now the DPW building, to see if that can be rehabbed. And that'll be a first floor. I think it'll be a further floor because we're going to build a new DPW building over at the transfer station. I want to see that building used by the town. If it's not used by the seniors, it can be used for something else. I don't want to see it going down. It's a historic building. When I went to school over there, when there was a fire, there used to be a siren on the top that would whistle, and would bring all the farmers and fishermen to the fire. It was all volunteer at that time.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis, 1 minute for the same question. Yep.
So, you talk about the survey. I'm not really concerned about the survey, but how do people like to see the services with the senior center? That's what we choose to do. In a perfect scenario, you have a senior center with a senior advocate and senior services that were required or requested, maybe through the survey, to be organized and maintained by the center as much as possible. I'm open, to the above, and I understand it's a long time getting to where the majority of students want to be, and I would suggest, let's get it right the first time.
Yes, Ms. Talbot, 30 seconds.
AARP ranks Rhode Island last in the nation for access to affordable senior housing. Little Compton has the highest percentage of seniors in the state, yet we have 0 affordable housing units for seniors. And we're one of only 4 communities in Rhode Island without a senior center. These are pretty dubious distinctions, and I think we have to do better. If elected, I'll be an advocate for a senior center and a strong voice for seniors on the town council.
Thank you. All right, new question, Ms. Halsey starts with you. There are many reasons why Little Compton has developed into one of the most spectacular and unique residential communities anywhere in the Northeast, and I would probably argue in the East Coast of America. 2 of the biggest reasons are 2-acre zoning requirements and the 4% agricultural conservancy trust transfer tax. Are these tools still the right tools to shape the future of Little Compton today?
I think the 2-acre zoning is fine, but more than a third of the houses in Little Compton are on building lots. So I know we have a regulation for 2-acre zoning now, which I think is wonderful. But if we want to go into affordable housing, we're going to have to look at the town's history and what we've done. I think, what was that second part? Sorry.
Are these two tools, the 2-acre zoning and the transfer tax, are they still the right tools to shape the future of Little Compton?
I think the transfer tax is something that we should keep. I don't know if it's the right amount, but I think we need to look at the history of our zoning and where the town has stood in the past, because at least it might be even more than a third of the houses are on building lots in our town. And I don't know when the 2-acre zoning law became in effect. I think it's great, but I think we need to make it more affordable to have other people come here, because our town is dying. It's dying. We've got nothing. And I don't want to see that. I want to see it thrive and become more vibrant, which we need affordable housing. We need our seniors involved. We need a lot of things. So I think it's still attractive, but I think we need to change the guidelines.
Ms. Donovan?
There's always an inherent tension between open space and development, and I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. Our residential 2-acre zoning isn't going anywhere, but we can be strategic about where we allow limited density. We know that more houses will be built, but if we're smart about development going forward, we can make sure it happens in a way that doesn't carve up our rural landscape. The Ag Trust has done a great job preserving farmland, but needs to put farm families on the land. And if we do, it'll be a win-win. We'll be supporting agriculture, adding year-round families to support our schools and businesses, and we'll be making progress on our housing affordability goals. But to do it, we need vision and commitment from a majority on the town council, but I don't think it has to be a partisan majority. I know Patrick and Gary are both committed to this, and I'd love to work with them to move it forward.
Mr. Moore?
We've all seen how the 2-acre zoning and the Ag Trust tax that preserve so much open space in our community, and I think that's been a positive thing. But we've also seen some of the fallout for that, especially post-COVID, as home prices have skyrocketed. I think this is a question about how we can allocate the resources that we already have. I think that we should perhaps reallocate some of the funding that comes in through the transfer tax and put that towards affordable housing. And I also think that looking at the recent comprehensive land study that was done by the Ag Trust, we can look at the land map in Little Compton and see what parcels are left over and decide where we can put affordable housing and perhaps cluster them in certain areas that make sense, maybe around the commons or other existing business districts, so they're not interfering with important open space and farmland that already exist in town.
Mr. McHugh, you're going to need a microphone. Mr. McHugh, the same question.
Yes, thank you, Scott. I support 2-acre housing. For the Ag Trust and your second question about their tax, I just want everyone to know, back in June, the council charged the Ag Trust with this, requested the Little Compton Ag Trust to seek advice from legal counsel and an expert in land/real estate acquisitions as the trust authority within the bounds of enabling legislation and to participate in multi-purpose acquisitions. They've hired a lawyer, her name is Corinne Browning, and they are going to answer that question and a few more of those questions. We'll see what the Ag Trust does. They have new leadership. I think we need to give them a chance to see how they're going to go forward in the future. It's very important work that they do, and they've done a great job since 1985 when they were enacted. They have a lot of land. So it is a new beginning for them, and you couple that with the Housing Trust, you couple that with the Commons Foundation, and there is optimism here in Little Compton.
Thank you. All right, move to a new topic unless anyone else wants to Yeah,
Feedback, I'm having trouble hearing.
okay, so,
I don't know what you're gonna do about it.
I don't know either. I'm going to push on through.
Go for it.
Okay. Next question, Mr. Goldberg, starts with you. Can you give some ideas on how you would plan on dealing with the excessive number of Airbnbs in the community at the same time that we're running out of affordable housing?
Question revolves on Airbnbs.
Yes, Airbnbs.
I don't know, I'm a bit of a capitalist, so I don't have anything against Airbnbs. What I have against Airbnbs is people making them into party houses. 2 people rent it, next thing you know, there's 20 cars. One of the things we have to do is have the landlords become responsible. In that regards, get a call, it comes to dispatch, the police go down and say, hey, okay, there's only supposed to be 2 cars here, there's 10. Start taking them, tow them, I'd obviously give them a warning first, and have them removed. As far as Airbnb and timing, I can't see a problem with it if it's done correctly, because 99% of the Airbnbs are not a problem. It's that 2% that cause all that happen.
Mr. Martian.
To pick up on that just a bit, the police involvement where there are problems is often affected by who reports it and how it's detected. And so one of the things I think we can do, and we've had a number of Airbnb owners come to us at public hearings and say, but we historically simply rent this to somebody that we've always rented to, and we know who it is, and it's the same one every year, so your new proposed legislation unnecessarily penalizes us. I think we can be hearing that and divide, as others have already said, we can divide the way in which we enforce it into pieces that allow for suppression, if that's the right word, of those that are simply rented out and left to be problems for somebody else to solve, versus the alternative, which is I'm doing this so that I can stay in my house.
Thank you. Ms. Rigo.
I tend to agree with Paul. I'm a little bit of a capitalist too, and I think people have the right to purchase property to use for an Airbnb. I think anything can happen in the next 5 to 10 years in the housing market that could change this. I mean, people could be seriously affected holding on to these properties where weekly rentals or monthly rentals or 2-night rentals are no longer coming. I also am a consumer of Airbnb. I've been using that for a vacation method for years as a method of, as a alternative for affordability for a bigger family. Do I think it's a problem that homes are being bought up? Yes. Do I wish it wasn't happening? Yes. But I'm not sure how that's going to change. I've heard moratorium. I'd be interested in what certain towns, I know Tiverton has some, I know Newport has restricted their certain sections now of Newport are no longer allowing Airbnb buyouts. I also have lived near a house where there were parties going on, and I've had to call the police at 2 in the morning when I think most of UMass Dartmouth was next door. So it's a problem we may be forced to deal with.
So this came before the town council, not this summer, last summer before, but we had some people come and say that they were being disturbed by rowdy people in their Airbnbs. So it's another situation where 95% of the Airbnbs are probably okay, it's 5% get out of 7-day minimum. Because if somebody's coming in town for a wedding, they're gonna be there Friday and Saturday night, and they're gonna resell. That's what they're gonna do. They come in town to do that. So the first hearing, we heard from the people that were upset with them, so we held another hearing, and there was many more people that came, and they said that they have Airbnbs, and they really need that extra income to pay their taxes in town. And there was one lady who came, there was an elderly lady, she says, I rent out a bedroom to the same person every year, and if I don't rent that, you make it so I don't rent that bedroom out, I'm not gonna be able to stay in town. So what we did was we told the chief to enforce any complaints, we told the chief to enforce the noise ordinance and to notify the property owner.
Thank you. Ms. Maverick, just so you know, you're out of time.
Oh, I say it, if I was in a game, I guess I would win. I got all those check marks there.
You actually went over, so you're in overtime. Yes, Mr. Moore, please.
I don't have an issue with owner-occupied Airbnb. So if someone has a room in their house that they want to rent out occasionally an Airbnb, I think that's great. I have an issue with people coming into town and buying up homes in the residential area and purely renting them out as an Airbnb. That shouldn't be allowed. Why should someone come in and run a business out of the residential zone when the rest of us are paying the same tax rate as them and probably using services less than some of the people that are coming into town and renting an Airbnb? I think it's a problem. We need to regulate it.
Mr. Lewis.
So, really what we're talking about here is short-term rentals. Right? Little Compton is a little bit different than most communities face with cars. Our lack of commercial property means most of our problems are with residential properties. Now, short-term rentals, which means 30 days or less, are taxable for sales tax and hotel tax. Owners or real estate agencies are required to fill out a business application, pay a fee to obtain a retail sales permit from the state. This gives a Little Compton Town Council a lot of options to deal with the issue. You can shut them down for operating a business in a residential zone. They can need maybe with the police presence more, for noise and other related issues. You can also pass an ordinance balancing the concerns of neighbors and the owners of the property. So it's really, this short-term rental for Little Compton should be the easiest solution.
Thank you. Okay. Moving to our final question of the evening. Starts with actually Mr. Lewis and goes down the rest of the row. Would you be in support of creating temporary 8-month housing on registered farms as a way to help farms stay successful in the long term?
Yes, it would help the farmers, it would help the community. I mean, Little Compton is based on fishing and farms. Yes, most certainly. I don't see the problem.
Ms. Lewis? I'm sorry, Ms. Halsey?
I absolutely agree with Mr. Lewis. I think it's really important to encourage our farming.
Ms. Talbot?
I'm not sure I understood the question exactly. Did you say something about 8 months? I didn't mention that.
Yeah, I'm reading off an index card that was submitted tonight, but temporary 8-month housing on registered farms as a way to help farmers. I'm presuming, I might be wrong, some of the audience will clarify, I'm presuming this might be a way to have workers?
Worker housing? Okay.
Worker housing?
Yeah, I definitely would support that. Obviously, you guys have heard enough about, from me on housing tonight. I would be in favor of that and helping to support farms and helping to support housing and keeping our community going. It sounds great.
Mr. Moore?
This issue came up to the council a number of years ago, brought to us by a couple of farmers in town. One of them's here tonight. And as with many issues, the can was kicked down the road because there were a few people that might have shown up and expressed displeasure with it. I think we need to do everything we can do to help our farmers, which includes helping them get housing for their workers. It's the only way they can continue to produce for our community. So I hope we bring this back up to the council so we can pass an ordinance that would allow for this type of housing and help our farmers continue the important work that they do.
Thank you. All right, we're going to actually move to closing statements. And you all have 30 seconds plus whatever unused time you have, and I'll let you know what that amount of time is.
So I guess I'm probably can't even talk.
You just used up some of your time. When we get to you, Gary, you have 30 seconds. I'll let you know. Just don't speak out of turn. We're going to start here. We're going to the line. Mr. McHugh, you have up to 2 minutes if you'd like. Once you get the microphone. The Republicans have clearly been trying to silence you. Give the microphone down there for a second. I know. So they put you on an island down here. All right. So up to 2 minutes.
So I want to thank everyone for coming, all the living voters in this kind of times. And I want to talk about the future. I want to talk about the past first. Back in 2001, when I had my first child, I really started to think about what this future would be and what Little Compton's future would be. And I took a look around and I started up the basketball courts and I noticed that they needed a new resurfacing. And I continued over to Veterans Field and looked at the dilapidated dugouts and the kids standing in water in the dugouts. A new septic system was put in with big septic covers and the kids were playing on these septic covers. And when it rained a lot, the sewage would come up. And I looked at the tennis court and there was bungee cords holding on to the fencing. Grass was growing in between the cracks, and there was a small group of people that were maintaining it. And you looked over at Peckham Lot, which is now Hayes Field. It had an incline to it, and then people always told me that was good for the kids of Little Compton and made them stronger to run uphill one way and down the other. So I knew I needed to get involved. I got involved in the Recreation Committee for 11 years. And I worked with a lot of people, a lot of collaboration, and a lot of people in this room. And we did stuff there that I think we should all be proud of. Then I decided, well, it was obvious in school with the declining enrollment and the programs that were being cut. I ran for school committee. And I was there for 7 years, and like I said, I loved every second of it. And we brought in the out-of-district tuition, which is a win for the school, for the town. It was enacted in 2018, fiscal year 2018, and to date, we've collected $527,000 from out-of-district tuition, obviously over $500,000, which is a great thing for this town and our bottom line. And we also started the, am I done here?
You are,
I have so much more to say. Can I take Gary's 30 seconds? I hope for your vote. I tried to save mine, so thank you. I hope for your vote.
Thank you. Mr. Golombowski, you have lots of time if you'd like. You have up to 3.5 minutes.
I promise not to use it all.
I thought so.
I wrote a couple closing statements, and I think I'm going to kind of combine the two of them. One thing really bothers me is how people get put into boxes. If you're a certain political party, you have to be a certain way. Well, Nancy and I, my wife and I, we have the largest solar field in Little Compton, 2 acres of solar panels. We're the first and probably the only one who'll ever go in, I think. We use organic practices on the farm. Our animals all have forever homes. We don't, even when the chickens stop laying eggs, we don't eat them. We just let them go. So that doesn't sound like the Republican that everybody makes Republicans out to be. We're all different people. I just hope the residents will look at our record, see what we've accomplished, and judge us by our actions, not by a negative narrative from a national, state, or local organization. So please, vote for who you think can do the best for Little Compton, as I strive to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martian, you have up to 3 minutes, if you'd like.
I will not use 3 minutes. I will simply say that I concur completely with what has just been said about you, the electorate, decide who we are. Our job is to listen to you. And you've already spoken either through the questions that were posed to us or ones that you handed in tonight. And I would encourage you to continue to do the same thing. I would be honored to serve another term if that is the public's desire. And if so, I commit to you that I will fulfill whatever role is given me. But most important to me is listening to what you've said. Much less important is to get it done right now. And I'm often accused of being the one who causes that to happen. I accept that responsibility. If I'm the one who slows it down to ask a question, that would be my role. But I am committed to this town 100%, and I appreciate what you brought before us tonight in terms of the questions you give us.
Ms. Rigo, up to a minute and a half.
Question, I'm sorry. Oh, this is a closing
This is a closing statement. This is the vote is your oyster.
I want to tell you that I didn't get any sleep last night. We made a Logan run. My husband did it in 2 hours and 10 minutes, and I'm exhausted. I think common sense is on the ballot this year. I am so impressed with the way the town council runs. I've been sitting in on meetings for 3 to 4 years now. I can't think of a better situation for the people, and I think civic engagement is crucial. I do. I've been accused of being ultra-conservative. It's okay, I still love the letter writers, and I think I'm somebody who can listen. I know, right? I do. I would appreciate your vote, and I think that there are some very important issues that are on the agendas coming to Little Compton, and I think that common sense will prevail. We all love Little Compton, and we love everything about it, the richness and the heritage and the beauty of it. So I yield my time.
So, Ms. Marinocci, for 35 seconds.
So as you've heard tonight, I work diligently to solve issues that come before the town council. And I'm open to speak with anyone at any time. A lot of you email me with questions about what's going on. I respond automatically. I'll continue to be fiscally conservative. I would really appreciate your support November 5th.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis, 2 minutes if you'd like.
I would be proud and honored to serve the residents of Little Compton. My retirement affords me the opportunity and the time required to serve on the Little Compton Town Council. I have 35 years of government experience, with the last 20 years as a supervisor with the Division of Taxation, resulting in a working knowledge of all taxes administered in the state of Rhode Island, which will give me the ability to solve problems brought before the council. My style is to listen, reflect, and then respond. I am committed to keeping the unique character of Little Compton in mind when dealing with all matters before the town and serving Little Compton with accountability to all its citizens.
Thank you. Ms. Halsey, up to 3 minutes if you'd like.
If I am blessed to be elected, I believe in transparency, fairness, and accountability in our town. I would listen to our citizens and always take into consideration what is best for the whole and look for solutions to make things happen. Even though I'm new at this, I think I bring a new perspective to the council and will always be respectful, considerate, and compassionate to our citizens. We can't keep the status quo in Little Compton. We need new energy and new ideas. and we need to breathe new life into our town. We don't have all the answers, certainly I don't, but I'm ready to learn, to educate myself, and research solutions for whatever will work here. And I would hope that you would consider me to be on your town council. I would be honored. Thank you.
Ms. Talbot, up to a minute and a half.
Thank you. I want to start with thanking you, Scott, and East Bay Media Group, the League of Women Voters. Thanks to our fantastic school for hosting us, to my fellow candidates, and all of you for being here tonight, and those who are watching at home. I'm running because as a local business owner and parent, and as a person involved in outreach to our community, I see how our farms, businesses, young families, and seniors are being left behind. I'm a hard worker, I'm a nerd who loves to do her homework, and I'm ready to put my all into making this town better for everyone. As a town councilor, I'll encourage boards and committees to share regular updates, and I'll coordinate collaboration where that work intersects. I did this as a citizen volunteer when I learned that the Housing Trust and the Planning Board weren't communicating regularly. I helped to initiate a housing and planning subcommittee that's now working together to review and update the housing section of our comp plan. This is exactly the kind of leadership and bridge building I'll bring to the council. I hope to earn your support. And if you want to learn more about me and see my resume and see where I stand on issues, you can check out my website, victoriatalbot.com. Thank you.
And for 2 minutes.
It's been an honor to serve on the town council for the last 6 years, so I appreciate everyone's support. We've talked about a lot of big issues that our community faces, but I think that they're not issues we can't handle and tackle if we come together. We have a lot of smart and talented people in this community that always come forward and give a handout to other folks when we're in times of need. And I think when we come together, we can solve really big issues together. One of my favorite parts about being on the council is hearing from community members when they have an issue. I think 90% of the things that we take up on the town council come from issues that people bring to our attention. And I love being able to solve those problems with people when they bring them to town council meetings or to town councilors behind the scenes. So I hope I continue to have that honor to help our community out. And thank you so much for your engagement and for coming out this evening.
Thank you. Before we wrap, I just want to make 2 quick points. One is to thank the League of Women Voters who brought a team of volunteers here tonight. This is about I've lost track. This might be the 12th or so program that they've run in the East Bay. Every single community, Barrington, Warren, Bristol, Portsmouth, Tiverton, Little Compton, Middletown, Newport, and maybe Jamestown as well, all had candidate forums. The League of Women Voters organizes them, promotes them, invites the candidates. I've moderated the majority of them, or at least half of them, with them, but the League and their volunteers do all the work, and so they definitely deserve a round of applause. I just commend the candidates. I may have done 50 of these over the years, and I can tell you, it's not easy sitting up here. It's not easy getting questions thrown at you and having to think in a matter of 2.5 seconds of an answer and making it coherent and doing it in front of a live audience. So, regardless of positions and history, it's a challenging thing. Give them credit for being here tonight and for stepping into public service.